Don't skip the monotony and solitude of a quiet life. Stimulate the creative mind, Albert Einstein. In an era where everyone is racing after social networks, endless appointments, and the frantic rhythm of city life, sometimes you just want to pause. Closing the door, sitting in your familiar room, taking a deep breath and feeling the quiet all around. That's when you'll find a peace the outside world can't provide. Many people think loving to stay at home is just laziness or introversion, but it's not that simple. It's a way to protect your soul, to look inward and recover from the wounds, failures and fatigue of life. Staying at home isn't about running away. It's about having the right to be quiet, to reflect and to recharge. Stoic philosophy reminds us that the ability to remain calm and clear-headed amid life's turbulence is a form of true wisdom and courage. In this video, you'll discover why some people love staying at home, how they find their inner peace, and how you too can apply these principles to live more consciously and wisely. Watch until the end to truly understand the value of your own space and find the inner freedom you need in modern life. One loving to stay at home more than loving to stay at home, more than just introversion or laziness. Just introversion or laziness. You know, there are nights when I sit quietly in my small room, the soft yellow light on my desk with the distant hum of traffic outside. Friends text, "Want to go out?" I shake my head, reply politely, and fall back into silence. More than once I've heard others remark, "You stay home all the time, must be an introvert or maybe just lazy." But it's not that simple. If you've ever been labelled just because you like to stay home, keep watching because this might be your story too. Think about it. We live in a world that's always rushing, always noisy, where everyone wants to be the dynamic one, always busy, always networking. Social media feeds us images daily of successful, outgoing people who always show up at every party and gathering. If you don't keep up, don't join in, you risk being left behind. And that's something many people fear. I used to feel that way too. But when I read Marcus Aurelius's words, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. I realized loving to stay at home isn't a weakness. It's a choice, an act of self-preservation. And sometimes it's a kind of strength. The strength to stand firm against the pull of the crowd. One evening after being scolded by my boss, I lay on the sofa, my mind spinning. Am I good enough? What did I do wrong? Why does no one understand me? But in that small room, I found space for myself and understood. No one can control your emotions or thoughts unless you allow them. Stoicism teaches that sometimes daring to pause, daring to slow down is a sign of reason, discipline, and self-mastery. Many people don't see this. They think silence, the choice to withdraw, is avoidance or weakness. But Stoicism taught me a different lesson. Sometimes daring to pause to be slower than the world's pace is the mark of reason, discipline, and self-control. You don't have to show up at every party, and you don't have to chase approval from others. Your value doesn't depend on how many friends you have or how lively you seem. Your value lies in how you master your emotions, how you choose to live true to yourself, whether or not anyone approves. As Epictetus said, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. But don't get it wrong, staying at home isn't absolute isolation. The line between peace and isolation is thin. If you stay home only to run from everything, to drown in negativity, or to avoid responsibility, that's not reason. It's surrender. Stoicism doesn't teach us to deny emotion, but to control and direct it. Like me, there were days I stayed home just to wallow in regret, anger, or disappointment. But then I realized if I didn't get up and adjust my attitude, staying home would only make me smaller and weaker in the face of the world's storms. You don't need to force yourself to become an extrovert or to follow the crowd, but instead to recognize and control your true nature. If you truly find peace and recovery at home, make it your foundation. Use that time to train yourself, learn, create, and develop enduring values within. That's when you shift from being passive to proactive, from isolated to mature. That was the turning point I went through from feeling ashamed when I said no to learning how to smile, say no calmly, and return to my world without guilt. Remember, everyone has different limits and needs. Some love gatherings, others love solitude. Both deserve respect. Happiness doesn't come from living like someone else, but from understanding yourself, accepting and developing your true strengths and values. So, next time someone asks, why do you always like staying? At home. Remember, you don't need to explain yourself to the world. All you need to do is act in line with yourself, stay disciplined, build your values, and be proud of your ability to control your own life. That isn't laziness, it's practical wisdom, a rare superpower in an age when everyone is swept up in the crowd. We've seen that loving to stay at home isn't just about personality or laziness. But in truth, behind this habit are many different reasons reflecting the unique stories and experiences of each individual. So what kinds of people choose to stay home and why do they do it? Those driven home by life's challenges. 2. Those driven home by life's challenges. The first type is those who have gone through upheavals, pressures, or wounds out in the world until finally life itself pushed them home in search of peace and self-healing. This is not uncommon, especially for those who have faced setbacks, work pressure, or toxic relationships. For them, the outside world is no longer a playground, but a battlefield of stress. While home, however small or humble, becomes a fortress. The only place they find temporary peace to recover and heal. You might have seen a man sitting silently in his familiar room, gazing far away, separated from the street noise outside. Don't judge too quickly. Maybe just months ago he was a man of work, of social gatherings, full of confident energy. But an unexpected setback, a failed project, a career setback, or a broken marriage can shatter every layer of armor he's built up. In such circumstances, every day stepping out the door is a real battle. He has to brace himself for judgmental looks, loaded small talk, and advice that, while well-meaning, only deepens the pain. Gradually he withdraws, declines invitations, and limits contact. But rather than seeing this as a failure, understand it as a survival instinct. When the world outside gets too toxic, home is the last refuge. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." Here in this private space, he can quietly look within without being disturbed, without having to explain or prove anything to anyone. That is a moment of truly facing the pain, the sense of loss, disappointment, and even the fear he dares not face outside. But you know this withdrawal has two sides. On one hand, it lets you rest, recover, and patch up internal wounds. On the other hand, if you're not careful, it can turn into a spiral of isolation and negativity. There were days he lay on the couch, phone off, ignoring the world. Sometimes he wondered, am I losing myself? Or maybe he just needed a pause, a chance to be himself, not putting on a front, not under anyone's pressure. This is the time you have to be alert, not letting isolation overwhelm reason. Stoicism teaches us that when everything outside is beyond our control, the only thing we can master is our attitude and our reaction. No one blames you for needing time to heal, but only you can decide when it's time to stand up, act, and live again. Start with small things. Tidy up your space, take care of yourself, do a little exercise, or simply jot down your feelings for the day. Don't underestimate the power of these small habits. Each action helps you regain confidence, reminds you that you're still alive, still in control, even if the world hasn't changed yet. You should also ask yourself, what can I truly control right now? If you can't change your job or reconcile with someone, At least you can control your daily habits, your mindset, and choose not to let negative emotions dictate your actions. I once witnessed a man overcome such a period of crisis. He was a former colleague of mine named Ted, once very energetic, but after leaving his job, he couldn't find a new suitable position for 5 months. We stayed in touch, so I knew well how heavy that time was for him. At first, he would just sit alone, tormented by his failures and haunted by the past. But then each day, he tried a little harder, cooking for himself, reading books, practicing deep breathing, and learning new skills. As time went by, he gradually felt lighter, more confident. It wasn't because the world outside had changed, but because he himself had changed the way he viewed his pain. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." What blocks us today is exactly the opportunity to grow and rebuild strength. Once you're strong inside, you'll realize you're home. Once a refuge is now a launch pad, ready for you to step out again, steadier and clearer than before. If you're in this period, don't be ashamed. Don't rush to blame yourself for being weak. Use your time at home proactively and consciously. Recover. Rebuild your resolve through small habits and remind yourself only you can decide the day you'll come back with the mindset of someone who has learned, someone who values silence, someone brave enough